Welcome to Drive for Service, a podcast to inspire higher quality of service. Welcome everybody to the next episode of Drive for Service. My name is Melania Battison and I'm the head sommelier and wine buyer at Medlar restaurant in Chelsea in London. Next to me, David O'Connor, the co-owner and restaurant manager at Medlar Chelsea.
Hello.
Today, it's a really exciting episode for me as we have one guest who was my first ever boss in London and also the guy who really inspired my career in wine.
Yeah, so we're going to meet Clement Robert, Master Sommelier today, the first ever sommelier at Medlar. He started with us with almost no budget and turned the wine program into, a world-class program that is still well-renowned today. So welcome, Clement Robert.
Thank you. Good morning, guys. Very pleased to be here.
Excellent, yeah. So tell us how you started your career, Clement.
So a bit like Obelix, I fell in a barrel when I was young. My father had wine as a hobby. His main hobby was wine. And so we were going on holidays. We had a house in southwest of France. And we were always stopping in the vineyards on the way. And in fact, when my father retired, he bought an RV, one of those camper van / camping cars, we call it in France. And we were always stopping on the way in different vineyards. Sometimes literally camping in the middle of vineyard. On there, we were meeting amazing people, producers, contemplating amazing landscape on obviously sort of bathing in the culture of wine. So that's very much how I started. And then good wines go often hand in hand with very good food. So the aspect of good wine and good food, I put 1 + 1 together, and I wanted to be a sommelier. So when I left college, I entered a catering school in Le Touquet, in north of France. I'm from Normandy, so I moved from Normandy to Le Touquet, in north of France, where I completed my catering A-level. And then my next step, I wanted to go to a sommelier school, but in the middle of vineyards. So I moved to the Loire Valley, and I had a contract of alternance, so sort of part-time contract, if you want, in a small Michelin star restaurant. On there, in that Michelin star restaurant, the owner, a 60-year-old man, was also the maitre d'. The restaurant manager was also the head sommelier, the cheese master, the dessert specialist. He was a bit of everything. I've been here for 15 years. And the chef was also the co-owner in the business. So he had shares in the business. So the wine list was incredible, 1,000 references, and mostly on Loire Valley, 90%. So it's essentially a locally sourced. There was no place for hiding there. All the waiters were apprentices. The sommelier myself was an apprentice, and you were essentially learning really detailed service, very high standards, with people with incredible experience in a very small environment. So that's where I've started understand the importance of service on all the special touches that service implied. So then I graduated from my sommelier school, and I had a phone call from a guy in England, in Nonnegotiables, called Dimitri Ménard. And he's a master sommelier, was the right hand of the late Gérard Basset, founder of Hôtel du Vin. And so Dimitri Ménard asked me to essentially come and work for his company, for Hôtel du Vin. So there, at the age of 21 years old, I moved to Brighton because Hôtel du Vin had several hotels in different cities on town in England. And I became sommelier, or as commis sommelier, in Hôtel du Vin Brighton. And there, Gérard was the founder, actually sold this year a few months after I started. But Gérard was an incredibly inspiring individual, stayed in the business or stay involved with the business somehow, and was always coming to check on the people he mentored for this career. On there, I've learned the philosophy that Gérard essentially implemented at Hôtel du Vin, which was obviously all about wine. Second was service and hospitality, or equal was service and hospitality. And then, interestingly enough, food was just something to complement the rest, if you know what I mean. And the philosophy and the motto of Gérard was always, every guest needs to be left happier than when they arrived. Talking about Gérard himself, someone that dedication, hard work, and will to improve at all time certainly had a huge impression on me. At the time, I didn't know him really well, but just looking at him, having 2 minutes conversation with him was a source of inspiration by itself. His title reads MW, Master of Wine, Master Sommelier, OBE, Best Sommelier in Europe. And he became Best Sommelier in the world, age 53, after his 6 attempts. And that I remember because he passed in 2010, and the whispers around was saying, Girard should probably give up. He's been doing it 5-6 times. He doesn't need it. He's such a legend in the industry. Why is he doing it again? And he was so headstrong. His determination, his will to improve and to get things over the line, eventually got him there. And that is a huge source of inspiration, whether it's for anything, any path of life. Was absolutely incredible. So from then on, I then moved. So I stayed 4 years at Hotel du Vin. So from Brighton, I then moved to Hotel du Vin Winchester, where I met another inspirational guy called Johan Jusselin, who's a master sommelier, who's now in charge of an incredible program in Australia. I met the likes of Claire Thévenot as well, also a master sommelier, all disciples of Gérard Basset, all students and disciples of Gérard Basset. And then I ended up in Hotel du Vin Cambridge as a head sommelier. And then I wanted to see something different. So I had a call from another disciple of Gérard Basset called Eric Zwiebel, Master Sommelier, UK Sommelier of the Year, who called me and said, look, I'm looking for an assistant in a 5-star hotel in Dorset. It's a Relais Chateau. The oneness is incredible. I need somebody to challenge me because I want to perform in my world competition. He was preparing the best sommelier in the world. And I want somebody very, very strong to run the place, essentially, to run the wine program. So I went there and I found very similar culture, and the culture was all about the guest, the attention to details, making sure that, each guest are treated as an individual, understanding, what they are after. And again, making sure they left a little happier than when they arrived. So I spent about a year and a half there. And then I had a phone call from a guy from Liverpool originally, calling me about a project in Chelsea with a strange British name. He was keep on telling me it's a British name, Medlar. And that's how I met David O'Connor, obviously. And he sold me the project as, essentially, there's no wine budget. All the appliances will be second hands. The staff will be people that have no experience in the industry whatsoever. On the top of that, the cellar is on the 3rd floor. But he promised that Medlar would become an institution, a service institution, a wine institution over time. And I love his genuineness. I love his honesty. I love the genuineness. I love the sort of no bullshit approach to the way he sold me the project. So I said yes. I was 25 years old. So I moved from Dorset, packed my bag, went to London, and opened Medlar with David, worked for David. I really enjoyed the philosophy of David from the start, the no bullshit approach, the sort of, do not compromise the standards, and somebody with a drive and determination that, again, I've seen before, but from very, very few individuals, like Gérard Basset, for example. And he kept his promise. Medlar became an institution. He kept his promise step by step along the way as the restaurant grew. I also grew with the restaurant, and I grew in my career. So a fantastic success altogether, and I feel proud. And I like to take a bit of credit for just 1% of the success of Medlar, and that was really, really incredible.
And I do know that at Medlar you achieved some really important personal targets and professional.
Yeah, absolutely. I developed as a professional, as an individual, and personally I achieved the UK Sommelier of the Year and became UK Sommelier of the Year in 2013. A long goal, a long target for me. And I also became a master sommelier. So yeah, altogether an amazing time there. Absolutely amazing time. And then my next move on my next goal was to essentially overlook things, leave the floor a little bit, and step up into a different role. And so the Texture Group, which Texture was a Michelin-star restaurant, Scandinavian, Icelandic Michelin-star restaurant, who had also a group of wine bars called 2850, who was looking for a wine buyer, a group sommelier and wine buyer. And I knew the group. I'd been to Texture a few times. 2850 was a wine bar I absolutely enjoyed and went a few times as well. So I took over the departing Xavier Rousset, Master Sommelier, another disciple of Gérard Basset, by the way. It was the first head sommelier, one of the first head sommelier of Gérard Basset. So I took over the group. And I found different challenges, and I tried to implement the idea that service has to be at the forefront of everything. And at times it was challenging because Agnars Verison, the chef patron, was a celebrity chef, and therefore he was always leading from the back naturally. And Aggie and I just clicked very well together. Somebody who's again have an incredible determination, incredible drive, an eye for detail, and we work together on effectively. We've done something that we think is really cool and special at 2850 on Texture. And I met somebody also very raw at the time, an incredible talent, which is Melania.
I didn't expect it.
And this is incredible to see how she developed over time, because I think when I met you, you were literally a barback or something like that. And then again, I could see the will to do well, the determination, and she became very, very quickly head sommelier at 2850. And now, look at you now. Yeah.
Amazing. But so I do believe that what we achieved in Medlar also is because of David's support, and has always been really supportive to people who really want to do well in life, and in their professional life as well, not just personal. And so thank you for this.
You're welcome. Yeah. No, but you're both very, very committed people. And I thrive off working with people like that. And that's what I enjoy most. And usually when I work with people like that, they become lifelong friends as well. And that is the case here too, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. But we spoke about service. So how important service has been in all the places that you've been working. But what are your thoughts on service yourself?
So if you look at service in London, is more important than ever. It's a difference maker. It's a game changer. You go to any postcode in London, you're gonna be served great food. London became one of the foodie capital of Europe. On anywhere you go, the standard of the food will be high when you reach a certain level of restaurant, I would say. But yet, very few restaurants are actually focusing or achieving high level of hospitality on high quality service. And if you look at what is a perfect service, okay, or a perfect hospitality experience, to me is divided in three different things. First is get the basic and the technical right. You arrive at the restaurant, as a guest, you sat at the right table. Your order is taken on time, in the right manner. The right water is served. The food and wine that you order are served again in the right manner, on time. Your coffee comes and is warm and exactly as you ordered it. That's essentially the very basic. But you'll be surprised, or you will know that few restaurants are actually able to achieve those very basic. And then the second part is the actual hospitality. And the hospitality is having a staff who smile at you, have appropriate manners, who is able to transmit a high level of energy, and essentially that's what makes a place hospitable altogether and welcoming. And then the third thing is knowledge. Knowledge is about knowing your ingredients, knowing the story of the restaurant, knowing about your wine, the pairings, everything that touch essentially all the technical. So that makes a perfect service. But the perfect service can be also boring. You go to many top places where they manage to nail those 3 principles, but it feels a bit robotic and it feels a bit drilled, and it lacks genuineness. And I think what makes the hospitality experience on the service extra special is a genuineness, and that comes from only one thing: is quality people, and people who are inspired also altogether. And when you go to a place where you feel special, the perception of value for money is also massively enhanced. You leave a restaurant and you feel like you are 1 in a million. Well, that's a money can buy experience, and that is essentially delivered by people who understand the genuineness of hospitality. Those small touches that give you a little bit of joy, sometimes a lot of joy, but just a little bit of joy makes your life a little bit spicier, a little bit more exciting. And that's what, in my opinion, make a very, very special experience when it comes to service.
Great.
I totally agree.
Sounds like you, really. When it comes like basic, done. Technical, done.
It did work for me.
Yeah, exactly.
I listen at times. I listen at times.
There is connection for sure. But what I was curious about, actually, because I've been working for you, but I don't know the story, is how did you build up Medlar and the wine program at Medlar with such a little budget, as you mentioned as well? I'm not going to say how much.
Again, I think very basic standards is quality has to be number one. So I think we drive a little bit from service there for minutes, but quality, do not compromise on the quality.
Yeah.
Regardless of the relationship you have, the perception that you might have about the wine, the labels or whatever, just don't compromise on the quality. The liquid has to speak for itself. On that, so essentially you try to have something which is eclectic. You're in London. Try to have to benefit from all the tools that you have in front of you. You have one from all over the world at all price points, from the cheapest to the most expensive. And again, it's all about understanding the value for money. And that is purely understanding what quality you have for the price that you have in a glass. So when you have that, there's no place for hiding. On the guest comes, and everything you serve, it's deep down. You choose it because of you believe in quality. Don't compromise on the standards ever. If you start compromising on standard, choosing a wine for X or Y reasons, because of you like the winemaking or the philosophy, on the story will make the rest. You already start to bringing a concept which is not necessarily wanted by the people at the table. Look at the quality. Then if you can build the story, or if you like the story, brilliant. If you like the people behind it, brilliant. If you like the label, the packaging, brilliant. This is just adds-on. That's what makes great wines. But never, ever compromise on the actual quality, the liquid itself.
Yeah, that's a good point of view. But I wanted to ask...
Was that your question? But did I answer your question? I was not
yes,
sure.
for sure.
Right.
But I wanted to dive a bit deeper on, for example, so you're starting from nothing, right? So how many references did you have on your first wine list?
Less than 100. I think David will remember better because he was the one with the money. But I think we started with £15,000. Is that right?
It was £10,000. I remember.
£10,000.
Yeah.
And that was including, beer and beverage.
Spirits, everything.
Okay.
£10,000.
I think we had some relationship with some customers as well who we bought privately from, which we could have some interesting wines.
I see.
Also, I think Clement was not buying full cases. He was like a single bottle sometimes.
Yeah.
Just to make up the bill.
But again, on to answer your question, and that's where people comes in the equation with the one program. I put the supplier on board with what we were doing. I explained that there was a project, and I wanted them to believe in what we were doing. So for them to split the cases, for example, for them to give allocation. I remember getting an allocation of Coast Jury, for example, or allocation of great wines. I think the allocation of Coast Jury took about 30% of the whole budget. but because they believe in what we are doing, there was genuineness. Came from Dorset to London, opening restaurant with a guy I never met before. That was actually recommended by a mutual friend. But there was a lot of trust, on mutual trust in the whole project and idea. So we got people on board to deliver for us, and that's something which is very, very important. People working for you, or people doing the work, the legwork for you. That certainly helped. Yeah.
That's amazing. But I mean, I guess like in Medlar, we still have so many people that are coming back because of your legacy and what you brought to Medlar now 12 years ago yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, that leads us on to the next point about the, tell us your thoughts on regulars and customer relations and building that.
Yeah. Well, I think, and thank you very much. I mean, it's very heartwarming to hear that some people, remember where we started. So that's really heartwarming. Yeah. It's a privilege. I think managed to establish a bond or relationship with people that come to your workplace for your business. I think it's a privilege. On that, essentially, you establish those special bonds by delivering above and beyond what your job duty is about. You just go a little bit of the extra mile. You go a little bit personal without being trivial or anything like that. But you just give a bit of yourself, of your personal life to your guests. On the reward is incredible. You see guests opening up about their life. You see guests talking about things that you not believe they talk to you about. On the fact that they come back. That's the most rewarding aspect of regulars. They come back because they like what they experienced, essentially. And I think it's very humbling, and I think it's a privilege. It's really a privilege. Yeah.
I think it's always been a bit of pressure of the sommeliers after Clement, like to keep the bar really high.
You're doing okay.
I think just fine. But I wanted to ask you, do you think then, because you talk about this genuineness and just do this act like really from your art rather than, but do you think you can train people to go this extra mile, or does it really need to come from themselves?
That's a good question. That's a good question. It's a bit of a tricky question. So I find it hard to inspire people to deliver that genuineness. But you can explain and rationalize in. So I've experienced. I'll take a personal experience, which is a professional experience, in fact. So in one of the restaurants I work for, I'm not going to name it, I remember having a complaint of a guest, and it was about the wine service. And I read the complaint, and it's like, oh my God, this is horrific. He came at the table, ordered 2 glasses of champagne, and you saw those complaints not too many times because you guys are brilliant. But, I had to wait 20 minutes for my aperitif. Then the aperitif comes, and it was 2 glasses of champagne, and the champagne was warm and flat. And then the sommelier comes and says, "No, the champagne is not warm and flat. You don't know what you're talking about." That kind of thing. So the guest kicked off. So I read the complaint, and I just imagine the situation as well. And so I say, "Well, bring me 2 other glasses of champagne." And sommelier take a point, bring the 2 glasses, serve. There you go. And then when he wants to order the bottle of wine, he doesn't want to spend too much, and the sommelier is just not interested about it. You can clearly say it's not because he doesn't want to spend more than £100 or something like that, which is already quite a bit of money. And I read the complaint, and I was like, oh my God, we need to do better than that, And I sit down with a sommelier at the time, and I say, okay, so what happened there? I mean, this is horrific. I mean, this is, it's like, well, the customer was difficult. It was difficult, and I believe he came here to make a complaint. Like, okay, well, when you go to restaurants, do you go to make a complaint? Do you go to relax? Well, myself, I go to relax. Okay, what do you think? What's the percentage do you think of people that go to a restaurant not to relax and actually make a complaint? Do you think it's a high percentage? No, that's why I could detect that person. Okay, all right, fine. how long did it take for the champagne to come? Well, we checked the CCTV and just that. It's like, oh my God, it's like, you just don't understand,
Yeah.
We checked the CCTV, it actually took 70 minutes. All right, so it's pretty close to 20 minutes. But the whole thing was he was being very factual, defending himself, he fell under threats, and all that sort of things. Rather than try to understand how the customer felt. It didn't matter if, in fact, the guest waited 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It's the perception. And it's a very, very important factor. It's a perception of, on try to change that to be very factual myself, but altogether I could see that that individual was not belonging to the place. He couldn't be in that place because he refused to understand that perception is a huge factor in restaurants. And it was a very easy fix. Be genuine. Really sorry you waited too much. Even if the champagne is not flat, if the perception is at the level of the restaurant we're talking about, just fix it. So I believe that some people have it, some people don't have it, but some people have it and they don't know they have it, and they just need to be a little bit inspired, and they need to be trained. And if you're in the right culture, in the right environment, if you are at Medlar, if you are at the Burley clubs, you are in that culture and environment, and you have so many things that will trigger and enhance that genuineness from you.
Yeah, I agree. It can be triggered, I would say, yeah, and inspired. Usually, in general, if you can train people to be very, very efficient at their job, you will find that the customer suddenly respects them, and then the waiter suddenly has this confidence, and then you have this genuineness, this genuine touch already. And again, it comes into the culture of the way you treat the customers and leading by example. And it goes from there, I think. So it can be taught to a certain extent, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, very good point. Yeah.
I see. So now a question, do you miss the floor a bit? Because I know that now you're off the floor and we're going to talk about it, but...
No, not really. And I'm going to make a football reference, in fact. And
okay, great.
I was watching a podcast by Gary Neville, somebody I've got a sort of love-hate relationship with, because he annoys me at times, but at times I find him very eloquent and very intelligent. He was talking about one of my favorite players who plays for the Arsenal, Bukayo Saka. And he was talking about Bukayo Saka, and he was saying that this boy play with a smile on his face all the time. He enjoys football and he play with a smile on his face, and he's a natural. He's an incredible talent, but he's a natural. And then Gary speaks about himself and he says, where me, I give myself every day, I grind my teeth and I play with a grin on my face. With a grin on my face? Yeah.
That's interesting.
And I felt at times that was my career on the floor. I find it hard. I find it hard to be on the floor. I'm a shy, relatively introvert guy by nature. I became a sommelier mostly because I love wines. And the service aspect, being exposed to people, being around people, I found it tough at times. And I was almost out of nature. And I've done it for a long time, don't get me wrong, but I thought it was not my first nature. And so I play with a grin on my face at times. So leaving the floor was something I really, really enjoyed, and be able to essentially focus more on the wine program, while hospitality had to be the core of everything. But being less in the limelight, less in the spotlight was something that I really enjoy. And by the way, when I say in a spotlight, a waiter is in the spotlight. Somebody that's on the floor, I consider being a spotlight. So that's something I really enjoy. Do I miss the floor? No, not really.
Right.
No.
Yeah. I love your honesty. I mean, yeah. And so if you have to bring yourself back when you were at Sommelier, at Medlar, or anywhere else, did you have some non-negotiables for your sommeliers?
Yeah. Be the best of yourself. Be the best of yourself has to be the number one thing. You can have everybody have strengths and weaknesses. But I think it's unacceptable not to be the best of yourself, not to give yourself 100%. That is really one of the principles. Second principle is always fight for the standards. No matter how difficult the situation is, no matter how difficult the service situation is, just fight for the standards. And the last one is don't give up. Don't give up on anything. And that, I'm not sure it's totally related to service in general, but never give up, never think that things are lost, never think that things are, not going your way. Just never give up and just push the extra mile. Yeah, these I think are my three principles. I don't know if they are non-negotiable, but they are my principles.
And if I have to go back on the first one, which is like be the best version of yourself, right?
Yeah.
I think being the best version of yourself, as you mentioned before, you want to be smiley, you want to be, come to the floor with genuine intention and to make it happen. But before you said also about sometimes not holding the grudge, but, maybe it wasn't coming natural to you. So how did you transition from like one day that you didn't feel like, oh, this is not really my day, to try to overcome it and
Well, because I think it's a very good question. I always thought that service was a show. And, I was, you come in the morning, you do the mise en place, you do your emails, whatever you have to do. And then you prepare for the show. It's curtains are down, 12 o'clock or 12:30, whatever the time of the restaurant open. Then the curtain opens and it's time to go, time to show what you do. Not dissimilar to a footballer that is in a dressing room ready to go to the big game. And no, it's time to step up. Or an actor that's in the backstage. Obviously, the curtain open. It's time to perform.
Yeah.
You listen to interview of actors who actually were good at acting, but actually hated acting. And they actually enjoy the adrenaline. So they enjoy an aspect of it, but actually not the full package, And I think that was very much the case for me. I absolutely enjoyed talking to incredible guests, leading the team at time, like leading the team through battles, because at time the service feel like it's a battle. The adrenaline rush, the satisfaction of producing, I say, joy in people's life or giving a bit of joy in people's life. That certainly, fulfilled me a lot. But there were aspects of the service which I found incredibly challenging. Yeah.
I see.
Lovely. Okay. Clement, tell our listeners about what is a master sommelier, because some people haven't got a clue. And what does it take to become master sommelier? Because I know you're one of how many in the world?
I don't know, 300 or something.
Yeah.
In
the whole world? Okay. So what's a master sommelier?
Well, it's somebody that passed an exam.
Yeah, but it's not just any exam. I mean, I've seen the dedication it takes from, there's 3 master sommeliers passed through Medlar, and it's not easy. So
no, well, look, what does it take to become a master sommelier? It takes dedication, hard work, and determination. But I mean, if you want to achieve anything meaningful in life, you don't need those 3 ingredients anyway. And you need to have the will and the desire to get it over the line. What I enjoy the most about my journey to become a master sommelier, on the UK Sommelier of the Year, by the way, which is also a very important aspect of my achievement, you meet incredible people. And I think that's what keeps me going at times. The networking aspect. You meet incredible people and the will to wanting to be a better version of yourself. Mm-hmm. So that's why I entered the MS program, and that's why I wanted to pursue doing competitions, because it pushes you step by step, little by little, to be a better professional. And what's interesting is when you become a better professional, you meet better professional, like-minded people. Therefore, you become even a better professional. So you sort of stepping up gradually. And then you become a better employee because you have better connections. If you have better connection and if you use your connection right, usually you perform better. So you become a more valuable employee. Therefore, your employer benefits from it. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, you are able to market yourself better. So all in hands, if you understand the whole, I would say, microcosm, you just become a better professional. And that's essentially what keeps me going. And then what got it over the line, because a lot of people are on a journey and they become better. And that's the most important, by the way. Mm-hmm. The actual badge or title or whatever. The most important is what the journey brings to you, But what pushed me to get it over the line is I feel like I owed people that supported me over time. I thought about, the advice of Gérard Basset, the time that Gérard Basset spent on me to mentor me at times. Eric Zwiebel, Johan Jusselin. I saw about all my mentors that invest the time and effort to try to make me a better, essentially, individual and better professional. And that really pushed me to get it over the line. And I feel like I owed it to myself as well. So yeah, a lot of hard work. I tested thousands of wines, spent thousands of hours in books on doing research and all these sort of things. Again, something that I didn't necessarily enjoy, if I'm perfectly honest. But I could see the finishing line. And I really enjoy meeting people that were in that journey, people that's done it before. So yeah.
Was he studying when he was at Medlar?
Yeah, all the time.
He studied very hard, yeah.
All the time.
During your break,
Yeah,
and
all the
like you
time.
were trying to.
I remember one time when it was so hard that day for me. It was close to the UK Sommelier of the Year, I think. And I stepped on the floor and I studied the whole day. So I was working in the evening only, and I studied the whole day. I woke up early and I literally studied all day. And I come and I was drained of any energy or joy for life or anything. I remember stepping on the floor and I go to a table and there was, it happens. We had absolutely amazing guests at Medlar, but sometimes you have guests which are a bit more difficult than others. And I remember that guest I thought it was difficult and I didn't react properly. And I remember I turned my back and I overheard, "Why is this guy so miserable today?" And you heard what I felt sometime on the floor, and it really hit me. And I also realized, like, okay, it takes a bit too much on me that exam I need to, or competition I need to give a line soon, because it's not healthy.
I think this is a good question actually, because I guess a lot of Soms will listen to this podcast, and what I'm wondering is, how do you find a good work, study, life balance?
Okay. That's a very millennial question, Melania.
Very much. Well, I'm 1986.
Or is it Gen Z? I'm not very good at answering that question, because I always felt that you need to do what it takes to achieve your goals and your targets. Okay. My wife would probably disagree at times. My family would probably disagree at times. By the way, I met my wife in the UK Sommelier of the Year competition, so she has an understanding when it comes to these things and the sacrifice needed. She's also UK Sommelier of the Year winner, and she's a master sommelier. But yeah, I think you need to, and she's obviously studying in the Master of Wine program, and I think you need to do what it takes to get over the line. Was my work-life balance okay or at times? No, it was all over the place at times, all over the place. But let's not feel sorry for ourselves. It's just you try to achieve goals, therefore you have to push hard. It's not by watching video on YouTube or how to become a millionaire that you're gonna achieve anything in life. You need to walk the walk, and you need to work hard.
I think it has to be all-consuming. You have to make it part of your life.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
So the role of the sommelier and approach to wine service. You've touched on it a few times already, but in general, how do you see the role of the sommelier and approach to wine service?
Yeah, I think it's a very good one. So when I started 17 years ago, the role of a sommelier was very different, in my opinion, to the role of sommelier now in 2023. The role of a sommelier at the time was, the sommelier is a knowledgeable guy about wine, and therefore the sommelier had to have sharp knowledge about wine. That was his main, I would say, focus. I would say these days a sommelier, it has to be almost more like a maître d'. He has to have a deep understanding of what's happening at the table, the atmosphere, the vibe at the table, the psychology of what's going on. There's less time at the table. People have less time in general. And also knowledge is not as important as it used to be, because you have technology, in the palm of your hands, which will tell you pretty much all the knowledge that you want to know, really. There is a software called ChatGPT. I don't know if you read about it, that scores 77% at the advance of the Master Sommelier. So essentially it's a chatbot. And you answer the questions, and you actually score 77%, which is above the passing rate for the advance of the Master Sommelier. So if you have that on your phone, you don't need your master sommelier. You have one in your pocket. So knowledge is by far a less important factor when it comes to sommelier. It's a lot more about the psychology, understanding what guests are after, understanding the food wine pairing on your menus, on all this sort of thing. It's a lot more 360 approach to service, and you need to be hospitable more than ever, more hospitable. And if you are a head sommelier, so we're talking about people on the floor, and if you're a head sommelier, train your team to understand those factors, and also have the connection. And I think connection is something when you step to head sommelier or wine buyer, connection is more important than ever, because look back 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, if you had all the money in the world, imagine we opened Medlar with £1 million budget on wine at the time. Mm-hmm. You could have bought as many Petrus, with a bit of nuances, but as many Petrus, as many DRC, as the rarest on fine wines, truckload. You could have bought truckload of those wines, no problem at all. Now, if you don't have the connection with the producer, you don't get a single bottle. So be connected and understand the marketplace. It's something that has changed dramatically. As I said before, if you had a huge budget, you get a huge one list with all the best producers. These days, you need to be a bit more personable. You need to have the connection, understand the dynamic of the market in order to get those things over the line. So that's changed immensely.
And I guess connection, you're talking about producers you mentioned before, but I guess suppliers are playing a big role as well.
And again, it's about getting them on board with what you do. Showing your ethic, showing that the wine that they sell to you will be treated with respect and will be placed in the right hands. And that's something which is completely new. Completely. My job is harder, despite having more experience. My job is harder than it was 5 years ago, for sure. And
I guess you have to deal with so many suppliers, so so many people would like to deal with you.
Yeah.
So what takes a person to get, okay, I'm going to speak. I mean, I got Clements trust, and I will get him to work with me.
Okay. Are you joining a supplier, Melania?
I might.
No. Quality. Again, you need to show quality. You are a supplier, an importer, a producer. You want to work with the Burley clubs or with me as a representative of the Burley clubs. You need to show quality, value for money, and that's about it, really. Again, the principles remain the same. They have to be simple and they remain the same. If you don't have the quality which is necessary, the uniqueness, the quality, then there's no point. Having a point of difference. So I've got supplier approaching me with a point of difference. All our wines are organic, sustainable, etc. Great. We need to show interest. This is so relevant in our markets. So they are very much in the right frame of mind. Yeah. But if the quality of those wines are all average or rubbish, no thank you.
makes sense.
Again, you need to stick with your principle. Never bend your principle in that regard. Yeah.
Nice. I mean, we talked about your career earlier, Clement, but I don't think we got onto your current role. So tell us about what you're doing at the moment.
So what I'm doing at the moment, I am the head of beverage on Group 1 buyer for the Burley clubs. It's a group of private members club. We got Annabelle's, Harry's Bar, Mark's Club, and George's Club, which is just about to be reopened. And also a health club, which is Bath and Racket. I always forget to talk about it. It's a health club. We don't sell much wine there or alcoholic beverage. So my role is very much to be in charge of the whole wine program. Again, the 360 aspect of the wine program, from what's happening on the floor to what's happening in our cellar, what's happening in the next 10 years when it comes to wine investment. Striking the right partnership with the right people. When it comes to beverage, is a lot more led by partnership. You could call them sponsorship. Actually, cut that. striking the right partnership. And that is essentially what I do. It's at times it's challenging because I remember about 2 years ago, Richard Caring calling me on my mobile phone, asking me why he was served the corked wines at one of our private clubs, and I totally agree with him. That wasn't acceptable. How much control do I have over corked wines served when I'm mostly office-based? And I remember at times feeling like, oh my God, how am I going to deal with that situation? But it's like, well, my sommelier needs to be better trained. Very simple. Mm-hmm. It's unacceptable. And he's absolutely right. It's absolutely unacceptable that we managed to serve a corked wine. And that was entirely my responsibility. So that, my responsibility really touched from the smallest details on the floor all the way up to effectively the buying, the strategy, the events. And we are very event-led at Annabelle's in particular. It's a fun job. Yeah.
But for example, like you took such a big job and a big role. You did have a wine buying experience at 2850 and you built that your CV. However, have you ever felt a bit of what they call it today, imposter syndrome, or how do you overcome it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. When you take a role such as the Birthday Club, I don't think much prepare you for it, because it's the standards are very high, the demand of the job are very, very high. I've learned a job certainly at the beginning. I absolutely learned a job. I've done a bit of a Mikel Arteta thing, like learning a job and improving on the job. Yeah, no doubt about it. And there were very tough moments. Well, absolutely. At times I felt like I was not belonging. And again, determination, hard work,
true.
The will to achieve what's in front of you or ahead of you is what gets you over the line. 4 years and a half later, it is. Yeah.
I see. Like it seems like everything comes back to the same principle, kind of all the time, which are, I guess, your values as well. And
but I think that's what keeps you going.
Yes,
that's what keeps you going.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you five or six, depends, questions. I would like you to answer with either one word or one quick sentence. Okay. Right. So let's start. What is your desert island wine or song?
I get that question all the time, and I never know what to reply. It would be a one I never tried. It'd be a very expensive one because you might also probably the Montrachet DRC. No specific vintage whatever is available on the Adriatic island, right? Yeah, le Montrachet DRC. Yeah.
And to pair the Montrachet DRC, what is your lazy dinner look like?
To pair with the Montrachet DRC, lazy dinner. Lobster mayonnaise with what's it called? What's a sauce with mayonnaise and saffron and garlic? What's it called?
Aioli.
Yeah.
Aioli. With aioli. From Notting Hill Fish Shop. They have the best lobster mayonnaise in takeaway. Absolutely incredible.
Really?
Yeah. Only for special occasion because it's not cheap. But for le Montrachet DRC, you may also indulge yourself. It's a bit lazy as well.
Good.
Watching Succession on Netflix.
You're a big fan of that program.
Right? Yeah, it's brilliant.
What else?
So what is the best service experience you've had?
You can say Medlar.
The best service experience I had was recent, actually. Breakfast at the Rosewood in Paris. Le Crayon by Rosewood in Paris. Just world class. Just absolutely world class. You had the staff in suits and bow tie, which is a bit intimidating for breakfast at the beginning, but they made it so easy and simple. And it was a buffet. It was the most extraordinary. You had foie gras for buffet for breakfast, to give you an idea. And it was just the most extraordinary buffet. On the staff there made you feel just so relaxed, like Monsieur, let me serve you. Just go, like also with a sense of humor. Like, just stop helping yourself. Stop helping yourself. Let me serve you. Like instead of, sir, can I serve you? Not like, literally grabbing the plate from my hand.
That's
So
nice.
what would you like? It's like, is this foie gras? Maybe. I'm putting the biggest slice of foie gras on my plate. And then go back sitting at the table. And by the way, hot beverage have been sorted out for you? No, I would like a Earl Grey tea. To the suite. And it was that very relaxed yet so highly professional in a way, in a very formal environment. Crillon is absolutely majestic in terms of environment. So it was that mix of, oh my God, it's a bit intimidating. These guys comes for breakfast in, bow tie. And yet made it just so relaxed, just so like have this. Come on, have a bit more of that, introduce yourself.
I think that goes back to the skill of how you're making people feel, even at the highest level, and that is the elements of service, really.
Yeah, and it was half an hour. You stay for breakfast. It was a half an hour experience, but just I was relaxed for the day. It's like and the most amazing breakfast, the most amazing setting. But what made it really special was a couple of guys just being very genuine. He felt very genuine. Yeah.
Amazing.
Right.
All right, go on, next one.
What was the person that you admire the most within the industry?
Gérard Basset. Obviously passed away in 2019, very sadly. But yeah, Gérard Basset, for sure. An example in humility, an example in hard work. Somebody that mentored, I don't know, maybe 100 people that are now all successful in one world. Everyone had an affiliation to him. Everyone I know who had success in the wine industry had an affiliation for him. And I'm part of the Golden Vines, and the Golden Vines is an incredible award ceremony that we host every year in different locations, and all under the name of Gérard Basset. All goes to the Gérard Basset Foundation. And that's something that I'm very proud to be part of, because his name is living on something which is extraordinary, because he was an extraordinary individual. It was more than one sentence, sorry.
Yeah, big time. No, but also the breakfast. That was more than
you didn't stop me.
But it was amazing. No, I love that. And outside the hospitality industry, would you admire the most?
Oh, I don't know.
It's going to be someone with football.
Probably. I don't know actually. Outside the hospitality industry, my wife.
Yeah. Nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Favorite book?
Favorite book? I'm reading David Dean Diaries at the moment. But it's good. My favorite book is Empire of the Ants by Bernard Weber.
Okay.
And in terms of wine books that inspired you, is there any you can mention?
That's a good question. I love the Genesis Robinson Encyclopedia. There's nothing inspiring about it. It's very factual.
Yeah.
But the amount of knowledge compiled, again, the research, absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And I think we're done.
And will Arsenal win the Premier League?
Don't know.
I wanted to skip that question.
I don't want to jinx it.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Clement, and catching up.
So
I mean, one of the most outstanding individuals I've ever worked with in my career, for sure. And it's been a pleasure to talk to you this morning. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Drive for Service podcast. Follow us on Instagram @Medlar Chelsea and make sure you like and subscribe for future episodes.